The following is a presentation of Playfly Sports Properties.
Man, I got it my hand in my bag.
Buckeyes and trying to turn to the goal line. Puts the football over.
Cause man, I got it swag. Man, I got it swag. My
Hands to Gifty.
He stopped him.
You know I'm popping tag.
Bad snap. Bobble. Scooped up. Here come the Spartans. Down the sideline. Racing into the end zone.
He hits it! He hits it! He did it!
This is Sparta!
I don't expect unconditional support from anyone, ever. That's not an expectation that I do have. There's no reason to think like that. In my mind, it may be different for others. And I haven't coached anywhere, college or pro, where there's been unconditional support. I have not coached anywhere, whether it's here in 97, 98, or Mineville, Ohio, or LSU, or Ohio State, or Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville, Chicago, Alabama, Georgia, Colorado, here. I've never coached anywhere where there's been unconditional support.
Powerful words from Michigan State head football coach Mel Tucker as he described no unconditional support from anyone, maybe a handful of people, and he doesn't expect that from anybody. This is Sparta. I'm your host, Jason Strayhorn, along with my co-hosts, Otis Wiley and Jehuu Caulcrick, live with that lumberjack on. How's everybody doing today?
It's a
beautiful
fall day.
It is a beautiful. Yeah. That's why I get the fall swag on, a little lumberjack, hopefully channeling in some, Paul Bunyan.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
That's what he's trying to do. You're getting ahead of yourself a little bit. We know this is homecoming week, but first, we have to break down the game that really wasn't. The Ohio State game against Michigan State. Michigan State loses 49-20 to the Buckeyes, and it was pretty good early on, guys, but it got out of hand pretty quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it definitely did. At the beginning, Michigan State showed some life, offensively and defensively, especially, with that pick six. What a great way, to tie the game up, be in the game, get the crowd that were there supporting the Spartans into the game. But unfortunately, we could not sustain that throughout the, 60 minutes.
Yeah, we were both, obviously everyone's there, but you look at, we started with that drive, but you think about the noise, the excitement. I think the buzz, everything was there. When you're sitting on the sideline, it was all there. Everyone's in their right mindset. But we talked about this last week was you got to play perfect football when you're playing the Buckeyes. And so you're looking at, we started off, we got to put points on the board. If it's a field goal or you got to put them in the back of their territory when it comes to special teams. And, we started off, hurting ourselves. And so, it's just hard to catch up when you're playing this big-time Big Ten football in the Buckeyes.
When you looked at the ball game, as Jay said, there was that pick six early in the ball game. It's sitting at 14-7, and it seemed to be a ball game. At the second score that came, I think it was to Montour Foster. You had kicking game issues again. This reared its head again this week, missing the PAT. Michigan State sitting at 21-13 around the second quarter before things got out of hand before the half.
Yeah, that PAT is huge in momentum. You can't play a team like Ohio State and go out there and leave points on the field. You can't do that. So you have to execute everything. A few weeks ago, we heard Coach Tucker talk about playing complementary football, and that comes from all three phases of the game, the offense, the defense, and the special teams. Everyone has to do their part to help, drive this team and momentum and success for this team. And we fell short in the special teams on that portion of it, on something that should be automatic.
Otis?
I mean, Jay, you kind of can let me speechless on that one.
It's hard to speak on it, but I'll say this.
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough because you want those guys to go out there and play their best, right? I talked about this. I was on Jack Eblin's little radio gig today, and it was like, no one prepares to lose a game. Like, when you prepare a week, no one's going out there and want to lose. What type of competitor goes out there and wants to lose? No one wants to do that. And we talked about this game, at the level of this game, is playing your best because of the trajectory of what you want to do in the pros and the next level. This is a stacked game, so clearly you're playing in the best competition, so you got to ball out. And, you're looking at, our next, stat with Peyton Thorne is like, 11 of 18, 113 yards, and one TD just doesn't get it, man. It's not even equal to all the other quarterbacks that's playing right now. And it's terrible because if we have you can't even boil down what it is. If it's lack of O-line play, lack of rushing from a running back standpoint, lack of the timing on the ball with the receivers, it's nothing's clicking right now. And it's tough because that we've seen it click. We've seen it where it's a magical offense. And it just goes out there and shows on Saturdays that we're judged by Saturday product. This is the game of football. So when you talk about Coach Tucker saying he doesn't want any unconditional love because this is what comes with being a head coach at a Power 5 or any coach in that standpoint, that this is what it takes to get to that next spot. And we're playing against the Buckeyes, man. That's our program. We want to get to that level, and they showed it. And what it takes to get to that level, and we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. And as you said, you talked a little bit about the quarterback play. Right now, C.J. Stroud sitting at 12 touchdowns against the Spartans in 2 seasons with only 8 incompletions. Just an incredible stat line that I read there. But right now, we're going to go to the This is Sparta Game Day Stats presented to you by IHOP. The 2x2 breakfast combo equals 1 delicious meal. Enjoy 2 pancakes, 2 eggs your way, and 2 pieces of bacon for only $5, only at IHOP. Hurry in and enjoy this deal for a limited time. Dine in only. Price and participation may vary. Restrictions do apply. Well, guys, before we get into the stats, we're going to look at the conditional support, and we have a nice picture here of what conditional support is at Spartan Stadium. And we talked about this last week about not selling the tickets. And for the most part, there was about 50-50. I said maybe 75% of the Spartans, I'm being very generous there, did show up. But it was an awful lot of red in the stands, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There was an awful lot of red in the stands. Ohio State travels well. This, bodes well on them for, future bowl game selection, placement and everything like that. The committees look at things like that. But, Michigan State, the fans say, give us something to care about, but they have to be there as well. And I get it. It's not the season that we all wanted, but that doesn't mean we just throw in the towel and take our ball and go home just because you pay for a season ticket. Yeah, you can do that, but I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand why you invest so much into a program, but when it's time to support them, you pick and choose when you want to support a team and when you don't want to support a team. It makes no sense to me. You have to be, Spartan dog through and through the good and the bad. I said that last week, and I'm going to continue to say that. And if anyone have an issue with the fact that I say that, then let's debate it.
So I'm going to ask you, Otis, the comments that we heard today from head coach Mel Tucker when he says he doesn't expect people to give him unconditional support. What do you think of that statement right there from him?
I think it's from him, it's standpoint of we got to control what we can control. And none of us, I mean, we could talk till we're blue in the face here, but like none of us are in that locker room right now, right? So anybody that's watching this or even going to the games. No one's in the locker room and seeing what's truly transpiring, what's happening. To Jay's point, like I recall, man, we were highly touted, and Ohio State came in, and it was a sea of red. Same thing, man. And I think we had one loss, and Ohio State was undefeated, kind of similar, to this. And there was more sea of red when we were playing, in my opinion. And so, right. Credit to obviously the people that came out. It was a beautiful fall day, but to Coach Tucker's point, that unconditional love, there's no woe is me. Like, you think Coach Tucker's gotten this far with worrying about the critics? It is what it is. He knows it comes with this territory. And then, we talked about this straight. There was a bullseye on us because what we've done last year leading up to this season is that we were heavily recruiting, and we were like leading, obviously, the brand, and socially, like we are in highly engagement in a football brand right now, right? So eyes and ears are all on us. And so now that, the season's crumbled a little bit from a standpoint of we can't find a way to win the game, it's good that he says that, because it's all on them, and then he owns it. He's showing accountability. But like I said, no one's in that locker room right now seeing what's happening. And I think right now it boils down to, are they going to fold, or are they going to join stronger ties together and get this thing going? Because we want to see them win, man. Obviously, we're former Spartan dogs. We want to see our little dogs win. But right now it's just tough.
Honestly, that's really what I'm thinking when you hear those words from Coach Tucker. What is he supposed to say? He's a leader of men, and he wants to grow these young men into what they need to become. And that's like, you got to be battle tested. You can't worry about what's going on the outside. You got to just worry about the next play and focus on you and what your assignment is and being there for your teammates. That's really what his function is. But as a former player, and all three of us are, when you see that, we know what it means. As a player, when you're currently on the field, you're never going to admit, man, I wish that the people would stay. No, they're never going to admit that. They're never going to talk about that. But it is in the back of your mind. You guys are still talking about the Ohio State game when you came out in the sea of red. You know when there's boos. As a quarterback, you feel those things. And you should have look, there's not a quarterback that's playing that hasn't been booed. Brady has been booed. Tom Brady has been booed. I heard him get booed when he was in Ann Arbor.
Russell Wilson getting left and right.
Absolutely.
The thing is this, though. The thing is this. I'd rather get booed by 75 Spartan fans than at home than 60% Ohio's visiting team fans. That's what I'm saying. I'd rather be in my home getting booed by my own crowd because they're that vested and that passionate about the product that we're putting on there, as opposed to the visiting team invading them, coming to their house, kicking them out of their seats. So I'd rather have that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. Listen, we can debate this all day long, and this is a rough patch, obviously, that Michigan State is going through. And the fan base is going through. Everybody's going through it. And obviously, some people handle things differently, but we'll continue to fight on as we have homecoming coming up. But like when we look at the offense, and you talked about Peyton Thorne's stats a minute ago, Otis, you look here where he opens up with a nice pass, over the shoulder throw to Jaden Reed. The touch was there. The timing was just right. And then on the very next play here, you see Peyton, and it's just way too much on the ball, not enough air, overthrows the receiver, and it turns into a turnover. Why the inconsistency? What is it that when you hear Mel Tucker talking about we're not stacking enough good plays on top of each other right now? What do you think that's coming from, Jehuu?
The big thing is, the first play that we showed here with Thorne connecting to Reed, it's good. It brings optimism because you think Reed's getting back to 100%, and you can hope that connection and that, communication between the two of them will start to show. But then, you go back, and then the next play is something that's not good. The reason I feel this is happening is because we as an offense do not have an identity of who we are. Last year, we knew who the hell we were. We wanted to run the football, and that's going to open up the pass game. This year, we don't know what we want to do. We're not committed to the run. And what we're doing is we're putting ourselves in bad positions to force us to throw the ball. We're putting ourselves behind the chain. It's tougher for an offensive coordinator to call 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, as it is to call 3rd and 4, 3rd and 2. So we have to learn to establish who we are as an offense. Are we a team that's going to try to go downhill and run the football and show some commitment to the run game? Or are we a team that's just going to say, to hell with the run game, we're going to throw the ball around the yard, but we're going to do different things to get the ball in our playmakers' hands, be screen passes, tunnel screens, jet sweeps, little pop passes to the tight end. Do whatever you can to get the ball out of Thorne's hands quickly, so the playmakers can go out there and boogie and get plays. That's going to get your offensive line going. That's going to get the crowd into the game, and that's going to build Thorne's confidence level. Because I always say, if you do a tunnel screen to Reed, that's a negative pass, but he's running at 60 yards for a touchdown. At the end of the day, Thorne threw a 60-yard touchdown pass. You feel good about that. So we have to form an identity before we can move forward.
So, Jehuu, I'm going to ask you this question. You brought up behind the chains, and staying on schedule and playing – on in front of the sticks and keeping, that. What do you mean by that? Explain that a little bit in depth when you talk about playing on schedule and playing behind the chains.
Yeah, so for an offensive coordinator, you have your play sheet is broken down to several different categories in there. You have your 1st and 10s. So you're thinking as an offensive coordinator, all right, I'm running this play on 1st and 10. The goal is to gain 5 yards so I can call 2nd and 5. But in the back of your head now, you're also thinking, okay, what if there's a sack and it's a loss of 12? Now I'm looking at 2nd and 18. That's putting you behind the chain. So now you have to, come up with a crazy play to help gain some ground. And what that does defensively is it makes you one-dimensional. The defense knows what you're going to do. If it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, you're going to throw the football. So the defense can sit back and wait and play the sticks, play in front of the sticks. As Otis, you know this very well. You say, don't let them get past you. If they get the ball, if they catch 5 yards in front of you, you swarm, make the tackle, 4th down, punt teams on the field, and we're off. That's a win for the defense. So you have to, make plays to keep you on schedule.
So Otis, I'm going to ask you as a defensive player, if a team is playing behind the sticks and you're getting them into 2nd and long and 3rd and very long situations, what is that mindset from a defensive player versus 3rd and 1, 2nd and 2? What's the difference there for you?
I mean, when you talk about difference, I mean, you can say you relaxed, right? But you also that it's going to be a pass or it's going to be some kind of halfback screen or quick draw to just get some positive yards. But when you're in that 3rd and long pass, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 10s, those are those opportunities to be like, all right, let's rally the troops. Let's get off the field. Like anything like the 7-yard digs or whatever, slants, we can live with those. But like it's those comebacks where they're right at the sticks that just irk you, man. Like those are like, you just did 2 downs where you stop them for negative yards. It's right there. And then you just give up this one where it's like, we're this close. Like it's those like frustrating plays where think about the amount of turnover or amount of possessions. If we got 3 and out, so we can get the ball back to Peyton, back to the offense to get in a groove. But like they have no chance to get in the groove because defense-wise, we're not getting off the field. And then we're getting tired. And it's just gas, and plays and touchdowns. And it's just like, man, you're looking at – I mean, that's when you start looking at each other like, what is going on here? Like, what's going on? Like, that's exactly what it's like. What's going on?
Exactly.
I'm frustrated looking at it from a mindset of that is a hook curl. Like, where's the hook curl coverage? Where's the reroutes, right? Where's the reroutes where guys are running – free off the line? That doesn't help a safety. That doesn't help anyone out where you can only truly cover somebody 3 to 4 seconds. Like, and beyond that, I mean, you got to be locked and loaded because quarterbacks are sitting there with no pressure, it's just picking us apart. And like I said, it looks bad on all of us where as a secondary, like you just get pissed off where we need to be off the field. And that could have been an easy pass breakup, but we're not in the position to do a pass breakup, or we're just giving too much space where we're belling off versus let's just hit them in the mouth, slow them down at the front of the line, and then let's see what happens. I'd rather play that way than have these bails and, we're pressing, but then we're belling, but we're not getting no pressure, no bump and runs. I'd rather play press coverage, cover 2-man, aggressive, and we live and die by it versus these zones, man. These zones are just letting these receivers run scot-free. Somebody's open because you can't cover too long.
Let me give you a scenario here. All right, for the listeners, I know you guys know this, but for the viewers and the listeners listening to this, all right. So let's think about this, right? You're an offensive coordinator. All right, you have a bruising back. Let's just say you have Elijah Collins, who's our most productive back when he's in there. All right, so when he's in there early in the game, he's going to get those tough yards. If we're staying on schedule, and you have a 2nd and 1, and Elijah Collins come in, now as a linebacker, your thought process, you're creeping because you think it's a run up the middle. You want to make that stop. But this is why it's so important to have an identity to be able to run the football, because offensively, you can open up your playbook. Now you got Jaden Reed out there. You can take a shot because on 3rd and 1, you're going to run the ball and get it if you don't get that shot. So that's why we have to run the ball. That's why it's important to establish that run game to get the linebackers on their toes, buzzing forward, thinking, run. Oh, no, it's a pass, that kind of thing. That's when you'll be a very lethal offense if you can do that.
Bringing up what you just said, talked about Elijah Collins. Last week, we heard a lot about Elijah's going to get more carries. He's been doing all the right things in practice. You did hear that, there was a tweet, a cryptic tweet that came out from Elijah that said he was geeked and blessed. He was on the video where they do the uniform reveal, yet 2 carries for 9 yards with a 4.5-yard average per carry, but wasn't really in there for a lion's share of the carries. Michigan State outrushed 237 to 7 yards on the ground.
Yeah, that's a bad day at the office. You put your head down. Yeah, it's a bad day. You can't, like I said, I don't care what level you're at. If you run the ball for only 7 yards in an entire game, you're not going to win. 100 out of 100 times, you are going to lose that game. If you run the ball less than 20 times in a Big Ten game, majority of the times you're not going to win, because the saying is run to win. All right. Stroud threw the ball 26 times. They ran more than that. You have to be able to run the football. You have to. Your offensive line wants that. I don't know why Elijah Collins is not getting the bulk of the carries. I don't know. I want to know. It's bugging the hell out of me. The kid needs to tote the rock. He needs the ball more, but he's not getting it. That's going to assert some dominance. I don't care if we go out there and run the ball 4 times and come up short, but we have to establish ourselves. The last time I felt Michigan State had a commitment to the run game was the first half of the Akron game.
Yeah, and Otis, for you, you see what Jehuu compounded off of what he said. 20 rushing attempts for Michigan State, 46 rushing attempts for Ohio State. Ohio State only threw the ball 28 times total, 26 of those coming from C.J. Stroud. What the commitment to run as a defensive player is? What do you see when you see a team that is now struggling to run the ball, obviously, and then completely bailing from the run, only giving off 20 run attempts for the whole ball game?
When you play a well-balanced offense, in my mind, as you're preparing, you got to prepare for it all, man. Like, I think when Coach D came in, me personally, he allowed us to truly understand the offensive positions. Like, it starts with the guard to tackle play. I mean, Stray, you know it. Like, you can tell a lot from what's happening from that guard to tackle play when it's pass and run. And so for me, I would study that more than anything because it allowed me to play faster. So as soon as I got my eyes on that quarterback and my eyes on the front line, I'm looking at those tendencies of, all right, this guy may have a twitch where it's so minute, like so detailed that Coach D was like, it's all in the details. It's all in the inches, a game of inches. But if that tackle sets that foot quick, gets to the kick, slide kick, oh, pass. I'm looking at my number 2 receiver or check one. I have my keys in my eyes. You got to be disciplined with the eyes. And I think from a standpoint of when you have to guess, run, pass, and it's such an equal 50-50, that you got to go further into the book of studying. Study to show thyself approved. And my first 2 years, I had none of that. My last 2 years, I truly had to be a student of the game in order to pass the test on Saturday. And so I think we got to be students of the game. We got to learn our playbook. 2, you got to learn the opponent's playbook more than your own so that we can go out there and play fast and play strong Spartan defensive football, because you know who you got in C.J. Stroud coming in. You know this guy has been historically torching us with his arm. He barely runs. So, like, we understand, like, his last line of defense or offense is to run. He barely taps into that. So for my mind is, let's focus on the other things that we can control. Is lock on your man, being where you need to be at, trust the other guys to be where they be at, and we let the chips fall where they're at.
Yeah, so to that, Stray, you said 20. We were being too generous here. We had 13 called run plays. I don't count the scrambles and different things like that. 13 called run plays, 2 running backs in an entire Big Ten football game.
That's not good. 13 called run plays. And you know, I know that there's I guess an agenda out there that says Michigan State gets behind early so that they had to hurry up and throw the ball and kind of scrap the game plan in order to keep up. But this ball game wasn't out of hand that quickly. You know, when you looked at, we just talked about it, it was 14-7. Michigan State's still in there, and then it was 21-14 or to 13. They're still in the ball game. No need to completely abandon all, you know, the playbook and start aerating the ball out there like your Western Kentucky from a year ago with Zappy, who's balling out in New England right now.
Right.
So look at that game. Look at that game in Michigan last year. We were down. Did we go away from K9? Absolutely not. We kept pounding, pound, and mixing it up because we didn't get in that desperation feel, right? Like we talk about control the pace of the tempo of the offense. The longer you're out there, and Jay, the longer the offense is out there, the longer I'm getting Gatorade, and I'm getting the Gatorade fueled up, right? So then when I go out there, well, at least we get a field goal, or at least we get down there to their territory, we score or field goal. My objective is to go out there and get that 3 and out. But I feel like there's none of that where we got into desperation mode where we still, like, we were in the game. We were in the game. And I mean, I think everyone was shocked that we were in the game because last year it was like that first half was atrocious. So like we were competing with a pick 6 and a offensive touchdown by Reed. But then what happened?
We started pressing. It reminded me to some of the John L. days where we will go into big games undefeated. And just because we're playing a big-time team, we're going to change the entire offense that week, you know, just to play to stay the course. Coach D'Antonio said it the best. Stay the course. We are who we are. Do what got you to the dance. That's what we have to continue to do. But sometimes we forget about that, and we're like, oh, that shiny thing, and get impatient. We got to stay the course. Otis hit it on the head. Michigan game last year, we stayed the course. Down 14, down 16, you stayed the course. You have to do that.
Yeah, Michigan State absolutely did last year. You know, you look at that ball game, the commitment to the run was there. You know, you have a star player, but as a offensive lineman, we know, like, look, the more opportunities, more called runs you get, Coach Tucker talked about it, that there are a lot of check with me's, RPOs that are being called in today's game. So what happens is, there's options where maybe the running backs or the receiver or the quarterback isn't on the same page. They're looking at what the look is. They're trying to run to the bubble. If they don't see that bubble there, then they're trying to throw the ball more than they should. And they're giving that power to Peyton Thorne. Maybe that's the issue. That's something that Mel Tucker talked about. Maybe we need to do more design run plays.
Right.
Just because, if you live that chop life, that's what we're talking about. The more you hit guys, it may be a 2-yard gain in the first quarter. So by the third, pivot to it by the third and fourth quarter, those are 10+ yard gains. It's just the nature of physics. So to see that more commitment to the run would be something delightful for all of us, obviously. And you would love to see for Elijah Collins to get more carries as Michigan State tries to get into the left column and get into that win column this week as they go and face the Badgers. Now, going to the defensive side of the ball, we talked about the bright side where you saw the pick from Charles Brantley. Let's show that pick right here early in the ball game. Number 0, he's ready. And it seemed like there was some kind of a miscommunication between C.J. Stroud and Bimba, the receiver, number 2 here. And he feels like he's going, and C.J. Stroud said, "No, I'm throwing it to the flat."
We'll take him. Take him. We'll take those 3 boys. We'll take them.
Yeah, it looked like the receiver was supposed to. Stroud thought the receiver was going to run a comeback or something along the outside there. That's why Brantley was just sitting out there in the flat there for that, and the receiver must have seen it. I don't know if there was something in film. If he's sitting, I'm going to bend it and go inside. But there was just that miscommunication there. And as the kids would say, Oski. Did it say Otis?
Looks like somebody's watching film.
Bingo.
Somebody's watching film.
We out.
Yeah.
He put that one up. He was to the house.
Yeah, we talk about eye control. This was a perfect example of eye control. Like, he could have easily kept going with that receiver, but clearly you look at, we were, like you said, zoning out, right? So he did his job where he squeezed him inside, didn't get outside that sideline. You sideline his friend, saw C.J. Stroud release that thing, and, that's where we need to get, right? We need to take those pick sixes and convert them and score on defense.
One thing about this pick six, it was great. It was great. Don't let me be this wet blanket. But one thing that I did not see, and I have not seen this year, I haven't seen that one person or a group of people on the sideline for Spartans, like getting them going. Like back in our day, like
the hype man
on the field. The offense would be meeting Otis on the field. We're going like this. Hey, jump, doing all that. I don't see it. I don't see guys getting on the bench, getting the crowd into it. I don't know if they're told not to do that, but I don't see that. After a pick six like that, that stadium should be rocking.
I mean, it was rocking. It was rocking.
Yeah, but our sideline should be rocking.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. And I didn't see it throughout the game. I don't see that one person like getting in players' faces and getting them going.
Do you think that the neutral thinking, to that point right there, Jehuu and Otis, when Mel Tucker talks a lot about neutral thinking, don't get too high, don't get too low, just get to the next play. Do you think that affects the excitement when things do go well?
Yeah, definitely. Football, you're playing a game. It's a game of emotion. You play off emotion. You see, Otis, when you guys played Georgia in the bowl game, right? And you guys on the sideline dancing, rocking, music's playing. That's the psyche side of it now. That's the mental aspect of it. They're on the other sideline like, oh, man, these boys, they're not going to quit. They're ready. That's that part of it. You need that. Like, you need that roller coaster, that ups, downs. That's what it is. And the reason when it's down, that's why you have teammates to pick your chin up and say, let's go. That's why it's there. You need that.
And you think about this too. That last year's squad, was that COVID squad, right? classes, you had to go in person, right? You still was doing some virtual stuff. Like you had a lot more time to fully focus on football these past 2 seasons. You know what I mean? So I'm not making any excuse, but also like we already know the requirements of what you got to do day to day can truly weigh a toll on you. Like it can push you down where you're not fully freely thinking. But look, we talk about Charles and we talk about Chuck. That man has a heart of a lion, man. Like the dog.
Talk about Charles Brantley for a minute.
He's my favorite.
He doesn't get enough credit out there. We got to talk about Chuck.
He's my favorite player
down there from Venice, Florida, Venice High School. It pumps out a lot of great athletes down there. He's related to Herb Haygood, another Spartan legend in the past that's coaching, the head coach at Madonna University right now. And he, the smallest guy on the team, as far as weight, is playing the biggest right now. Talk about Charles.
You know who he reminds me of, Jehuu? He reminds me of Demar Williams.
Right.
Demar had that. Demar would talk the best trash with the best of them and will back it up. And pound for pound, he was the smallest guy, great returner.
Right.
Legitimately has that body make of Demar Williams, but he bringing that thump too, man. Like he's not backing down because he is 175 wet. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to put weight on.
You being generous, 175.
I know. Hey, I'm trying to put them stats up. I'm speaking into existence. 185.
Look at the fight. Like let's get this clip up here of him hitting Travion Henderson late in the game.
That boy he was wobbling when he walked off, did he?
I mean, he took him out. It was a clean hit.
Man, it was beautiful.
What, about 230 pounds?
See,
170?
and that's the thing. You got a guy like Brantley coming up and sticking big backs, being a big back. All right. In the film room, when that film comes on, hey, coach, I got to go to the bathroom. No, you're going to sit your butt down here. Because he's not going out there and chopping him. He's going,
that thigh board, I know it hurt. I mean, it hurt. He ain't hit just that thigh board. He hit flesh because he got that boy on that. It was good. I mean, first of all, you see, if Jehuu saw Brantley, he definitely going to be like, bop, 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 right? He about to, man, I guarantee he didn't know like Chuck was coming with that thump.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If now you're watching film and you see this guy coming, sticking as a big back, now you're second guessing. You're like, oh man, I don't want to be that guy on film. So now you turn into a dancing bear, kind of trying to be a big back, trying to make a move. And then what happens is support starts coming in. All right. And then so you're in your head if you see that. So that's the thing. It's either
is it that charming bear? Like
that Build-A-Bear.
That's to that point, as a big back, that's the easiest way to tackle a big back when he's running sideline to sideline and dancing around, right? There's no momentum.
Yeah, especially you corral that guy, the pursuit's coming inside out. So you do your thing, and your big back, your mindset is you don't want to be another victim to Brantley because he has a few now.
Man, we talk about that Maryland thump.
Right.
Oh yeah. I know last year when he got hurt, he was bringing the thunder. I think it was at Purdue last year. This guy plays with a lot of heart and soul. Like you just want to see some of that energy, that fire coming out of the other players right now. I know we have talent on this team, but the team's just not playing with a lot of emotion. Now, I know, Otis, you've got some plays here where you see C.J. Stroud, and he's surveying the field and throwing touchdown after touchdown, 6 of them to be exact, against the Spartan defense. But I know you wanted to break down a few of these.
Yeah, let's talk about that first touchdown pass, 20 yards and going in that north end zone. You clearly see we're almost in a cover 2 man, right? And, from a standpoint as a safety, you got some disguising. You're trying to say, hey, we in deep thirds, but we have cover 2 man. No one truly puts a hand on the receiver to get him at least a slow on the reroute. We talk about reroute. So if you look at this play, I'm looking at eyes where CJ just he looks right, but he looks left quickly. and our safety covers up that slot receiver versus scraping over to help and Chuck out. Chuck's in perfect position. I mean, just a few more inches where if he can look back further, that could be a PBU or a pick. But if a safety's reading it perfectly, that is eyes in the sky. You coming down like an eagle down. That's jumping up and grabbing that ball out the sky.
Right.
But you clearly you just locked on the number 2 where that's not a bracket. And I don't think it's a bracket coverage on the number 2 receiver. So why are you holding on that where clearly the ball's released looking at the far end? That's the perfect look. I lick my chops when I see a quarterback just loaded. Get a little bit of air, I can go try to get it. At least make effort to get it, right? And then the worst part is when they celebrate, everybody's talking about on his head, that gets me upset where I put me in, coach. Let's just swap. I'll put the pads on. But you look at that play and you just get frustrated because he's in great position. Brantley is in great position. Then you look at the next play. We talk about slot receiver peeks to the left. Slot corner peeks to the left. What are we peeking at? We know the play. Did we not communicate pre-snap? We should know the play. Communication key. You run straight to the flat without even touching the slot receiver.
Just turn him loose.
Just turn him loose. Here you go. That, you got to put a hand on, at least an offhand jam, get to the flat versus, or you can ride him out to the slot, to the hash to help the receiver or to the safety to recognize that this guy's running the street. Not just let the man run straight down the street and then it's an automatic touchdown.
Is that players or scheme? I want to ask this question to you. You're right here and looking at it right there, just so people can see this. Is that scheme or is that a player mental error?
That's a player mental error. And I can't put it on one guy because clearly he looked to the corner. And depending on how this defense ran, the safety truly calls the call. He tells the call, if it's, man on the island, but it wasn't, we got slot receiver. So we got to say that nickelback needs to know you got to get a reroute. I think about that was my main concern. I got to get a reroute so I can help control the speed recognition for the safety that's in the back end. Because if you're going straight full speed, that safety's in a whole heap of trouble. It's if I don't get over here quick enough, I can't even disguise. I got to get here quick enough. That ball's already gone. Go ahead.
I got a question for you, Otis.
Yeah.
Playing in the secondary like you did, and watching our secondary now, we see a lot of bail coverage and given a lot of that space. Do you think it's confidence? Or should I say a lack of confidence?
Ooh, that's a tough question, man. That's the one we asked Drew about the quarterback situation. I honestly don't know, Jehuu. I think that we've gotten beat so much in the secondary that it's just second guessing that now we're trying to scheme because of the lack of what were the holes that we have to fill. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we talk about DNA on offense. What's the DNA on the defense? Historically, we've always been hit you in the mouth, press. We've always been corners that can just press and run pound for pound.
Right.
Historically. So now you're seeing the drop off because we got to compensate on the loss of Xavier Henderson, who X was Darius Snow. Think about those turnovers the bulk of those turnovers last year was those two guys combined, right? So you losing that leadership, losing that communication factor where maybe we rely too much on those two guys to communicate. And you're seeing this loophole of we got young guys in the safety spot. Safety's got to communicate just like the middle linebacker does to the entire secondary of, hey, we're here, hook curl. If I got to remind you about the hook curl or I got to remind you about the reroute, that means you're not communicating because that's an automatic thing where, hey, reroute. That's just automatic. That should be an automatic thing. And if I got a second guess, he looks for his ball snap. Go ahead.
So on that play that you showed, it was 3rd and 4, and you talked the slot corner did not reroute. As a safety, are you yelling reroute?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, before, hey, make sure you reroute. Because if you watch the film, if you've studied, you should know that these are the tendencies between that 3rd and 4, right? And in my opinion, you get caught too far in disguise where You can't run that far to get over there in time versus I'm disguising, I'm in cover 3. I need to get over here. Just all bad, man. All bad. All bad news bears. I mean, we also, Jason, we didn't talk about like it also starts in the trenches. We haven't even fully focused on the trenches of like the defensive lineman getting into that pressure. Did we even get into his face last Saturday?
So there was one. So I did see a big fella, Derek Harmon. He got in there and got a hold of CJ, put the big man on there, was able to get him down. We'll pull up that highlight for Derek. That was a nice play. But for the most part, you didn't see that. You did see plays early on where you saw pressure and it got to CJ. You know, CJ was a little confused early on that after the pick 6, but leading up to the pick 6 and right after the pick 6, he was kind of trying to figure out the coverage. There was some disguising going on. I saw single high. I saw the cover 2s. We love to run. A lot of that bail coverage. But when there was some all-out blitzing and CJ was able to hit completions, I mean, we went completely away from it, and there was just no one-on-one pass rushing ability to get off blocks and get to the quarterback. Inversely, on the offensive side of the ball, I saw a lot of regular 4-man, 3-man stunts, just basic tackle in twist, where 3 out of the 4 guys were getting home to Peyton. And so there were 4 sacks. Peyton was sacked 4 times. C.J. Stroud was sacked 1 time. But out of those 4 sacks, 3 of them, I mean, there was multiple Buckeyes converging on to Peyton Thorne. And one of them, he was a little skittish, man. He slipped out to the right. And show that highlight right here. He goes to the right and goes right into pressure. That was something that I'm sure he'll look at on film and say, hey, that was on me, guys. But still, guys, like as an offensive lineman, to pass off stunts, you talk about rerouting from the defensive back perspective. It's the same thing. You got to get a jam. You got to get your hands on the penetrating, whoever that defensive lineman is that's angling. There's one guy that's penetrating, and then there's a loop around. And for whatever, I mean, we are not, I can't imagine Coach Cap isn't coaching that. That's like the only thing that you really work on in practice is passing off games. So to me, when they're going out there on Saturdays under the bright lights, there's with that rat trapping thing that's going on. Guys aren't figuring it out. They're not standing and doing what they're coached to do. Because I mean, you can't tell me that you're not being coached on how to pass off a twist stunt while you're at Michigan State, a Power 5 school in the Big Ten, playing against Ohio State. There wasn't any exotic blitzes coming that was confusing. This was 4-man regular meat and potatoes, as Mel Tucker likes to talk about, rushes. And we couldn't block 3 out of 4 of the guys. That's unacceptable on so many levels. We couldn't open up holes in the run game. You cannot win with your trenches performing like that. You know, Xavier Henderson talked about it, guys, in the preseason, like before the season started. He said, we're going to go as far as the offensive line takes us.
Truest statement probably ever. I mean, man. Yeah,
it's just not that you can't keep going when your offensive line is a sieve and allowing guys to tackle and sack the quarterback. It makes them see ghosts. It's bad for everybody, man. You got to be able to run the ball, and you got to be able to protect the quarterback, and you got to be able to take care of the football. So, you know, I know that there's a lot of bad that happened in that game. There was some good things as well.
Absolutely.
You know, we're looking forward now to try to put this behind us and learn from this game so that it can prepare for the Wisconsin Badgers. I already started the week of practice, and again, one of the biggest things that I see is that this team has not started to infight and things like that. They know that they have injuries and they're young. And so what do you see like this to wrap up this recap? What are your final thoughts, Otis?
My final thoughts is we got young guys who are getting prime quality time on the field. And we are going to take lumps because of our youth. But when them boys are mature, man, it's going to be something scary. And so I think it's encouraging because, you know, we played a top squad who tends to be in the CFP and, you know, competing for a national championship. And so we measured up as best as we could with the people that we had. And, you know, I think we will be able to take a hard look at ourselves, and you know it's already erased. I mean, after Sunday, man, that thing's in the trash. Is ready to get to the next week. So as we prepare for Wisconsin, they're coming off of a win finally, and then obviously on our homecoming for this weekend, I just feel like we have nothing to lose. And I've said this before. It's a us against the world mentality. I think we got to go back to those roots. It's always been a us against the world mentality. And a band of brothers got to bond together, and praying that those guys are clicking more than what we see outside on that Saturday, because we're way more than judging on Saturdays, which we obviously, this is what we play this game, and it comes with the territory of being judged on Saturdays, but we're way more than that. And so we'll win the game during the week, and we got to prepare properly. And I think that's what they're doing this week.
All right. Well said, Otis. You know, I know that our counterpart had to take off and leave for a moment because he has some husbandly duties to do, fatherly things to do, and that's okay. It's all about the kids, all about the family, right? You know, great show. We'll look forward to breaking down the Wisconsin homecoming matchup in our next episode. This will put a bow on the recap of the Ohio State game. One thing is positive, that young people are extremely resilient. These guys are going to move on, learn from it, and progress, and hopefully get the W this Saturday. And for Otis Wiley, I'm Jason Strayhorn. This is Sparta. Have a good night. God bless, and go green.
Go white.
Man, I got this swag.